All right, so we're going to jump out of that a little bit. What's up, everybody? We've got a special episode here today. Typically Thursdays are Learn It Lives, but today we're doing this global open house thing. So we would encourage everyone, there's a pinned comment at the top of the chat here, to jump in this gather space if you're not with us yet. So let me actually mute this tab just for a second so that doesn't come through yet. But as you can see, people are landing in this little section here. Joe, what's up, man? There's 225 people inside of this gather map. Tell me a little bit about what you think. I'm going to walk around here and just show people kind of what's happening here.
I am seeing a lot of energy and excitement here. All morning, I've been popping in and out of these breakout rooms. And every room has a meaningful conversation. It's a conversation about Webflow. It's a conversation about learning, sharing information, feedback. It's amazing. It's just electric. And I know we said the same thing last year, but this year it feels like it's a whole new level.
Yeah, it's definitely a whole new level. Last year was very much, come show up. There was 3 panels. This year is all breakouts, all interactive stuff, all community stuff. So trying a little bit of a different format here with this style of event. It's a blast to kind of see everyone in here. Let's just walk through some of these breakouts here. We're not going to wait to jump in. That's nice. Joe's following me. Okay, there you go. I was like, wait, who's this creeping up behind me? And it's Joe. Just make sure you're muted and gather here so we don't interrupt these meetings that are happening in progress here. But yeah, feel free, folks. Y'all need to be in here. If you're not, we've got Joseph Berry over here, Joe Moore Design, Kabarza from Flux Academy, and everyone knows Joseph Berry and Joe Moore Design. Let's see, we've got, I think they're talking about what? I don't know what they're talking about in here. Let's see. Let's drop in for just a second and see what they're talking about in here.
No, I'm just going to retweet what Joel mentioned. So I didn't know. So I'm familiar with this term tech debt, but I didn't know the same thing applied to design debt. And like literally, as you were just going through kind of the aspects of it, I was like, "Yep, I've been there."
Okay, so yeah, conversations happening at every level. There's some open discussion here. Not sure if folks are participating in that. There's these little interactive Miro boards. So you can come over here and jump into this, and then you can jump into a cool little Miro board.
Manage their leave and make sure that they rock up. I don't have to do that anymore. I can put now my focus on
I added a few cards to that Miro board.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah.
Yeah, there's all sorts of like little interactive activities here. There's like, let's see, a little confession cam. People can share their thoughts about the community, share their thoughts about about the event, maybe some questions for the panel. We've got a short survey just to kind of find out who is at the event, what people are doing right now. People can come through and tell us a little bit about their origin story. So this is cool, kind of seeing people share their origin story in Webflow and fill out some information about how they got started with the tool. Asking people what they'd like to learn. So if you'd like us to cover anything in future breakouts or future events or anything like that, this is a place to leave that kind of feedback. We're going to put together some Webflow tips. Lots of beginners at this event. And so we want to like create some resource and gather some of those tips for them. And then there's 2 other things. Let's see, what's holding you back and taking your next step in your career. So people talking about different things there. And this is just getting started. The event has just kind of kicked off. The doors opened, I guess about an hour ago. The first breakouts are about to end. So if you're not in one of those breakouts, we encourage you to go check that out. And I don't know, Joe, what are your thoughts as we get ready for, I think we're waiting for Vlad to jump in, and we're waiting for the rest of the panel to jump in here.
Well, it seems that this type of energy is going to continue throughout the entire day. We have these mini breakouts coming, then we have Vlad coming, then we have the main panel coming, and the excitement's just going to continue. It's how many people do we have in here right now? 233.
Yep.
Wow, it's great, and that number is growing. We think more people are going to come in here. So yeah, just a big success so far. I'm really happy.
Yeah, I think it's just a totally different vibe than last year too, because of the breakouts, because it's super interactive, because of how it's mostly about, the folks getting involved and it's all community led as opposed to like just panel presentations. I think it's a lot more freeing. There's just a lot more random collisions happening inside the space. So if you haven't jumped into Gather, I definitely recommend that. We're going to go back to just some slides, show the agenda a little bit. We're going to be checking in and out on the stream here. So you can leave the stream on, you can have this muted. I think actually we'll go to just like, I don't know, let's go into this view or something like that and just let this up there for a little bit and let folks see what's happening. Let me unmute the tab and we'll just walk around a little bit. Maybe we should have told these folks they're going to be on camera. Now they don't know.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
you know, knowing that it's the same.
Yeah, everybody's
layout.
getting a little piece of live
That
right
could
here.
be really cool.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's right.
So you, because Webflow gives you also the translation, and that's really cool.
Yeah.
But not everybody wants to have the automatic translation. So, or you paid someone, or I don't know.
You know something else that I would like to have it? Like a dark.
There you go. So talking about Weglot and translation. These guys are talking about no-code kids over here, I think.
Have this nav bar. You can just
no,
jump
this is
in,
Connor talking about some
paste it
automation
in,
stuff.
and you got it in there. And
There's
you've
literally
got
everything
all
going on.
these different
Everything you
things.
thought. This is
So
like
everything that's
if you ever
available in
just
the
wanted
flow
to geek out about Webflow, this is the space to do it today. This is the space to do it today if you are interested in geeking out about Webflow. Not to say you shouldn't leave the stream, but let's say what's up. Let's see who's in the comments here. Sam Harris is in the house. Lucas Machado, what's up? Better Mistakes, Webflow experts. Hi, everyone, indeed. Nimesh Kumar is here. What's up? Daniel Brasnio. Matisse, what's up? Shout out to Matisse for some of the Finsweet graphics here for the open house. Arthur Charles, what's up? Victoria, Brian's here. Peter Dimitrov, what's up? Max R. Max R. This is our Webflow meme maker right here. So let's see. Edgar's in the house. What's up? Magdalena, Will Gibson, Nimesh, Michael Collins, what's up? Dale Jensen, Scott Humphrey, Robert, Urban Pixel. Dang, everybody's in the house. So yeah, if you're watching on the stream, we're going to go back to the slides for a little bit. Feel free to keep the stream running in the background. We're going to be live for the rest of the event. So this stream will be up live and running for the rest of the event. Vlad will be here in approximately 17-ish minutes. So we'll be making some announcements, going through the gather space, but right now we're just going to leave you with some slides. unplug myself. There we go. Now we're in it. All right. What's up, everybody? Welcome. We are just waiting for our keynote presenter to show up. So Vlad is going to join us here in just a minute. We wanted to run through a couple things y'all can do inside of Gather here. I thought I had this open. There we go. So, let's refresh that. Okay, so we're just hanging out for 2 seconds here, saying hi to what's up to everybody in the comments. Jacob, good to see you. Alex Pearl, Benny, what's up? Jeff McAvoy, Mohammed's in the house. What's up? Tito Solano, Anish. If y'all are missing the breakouts, those are just wrapping up. The first rounds of breakouts are ending. Rock and Roll CEO saying, yeah, I'm going to need the name of the music playing here. That is an art list special for sure. So I'm glad y'all like that. Okay, if you're not in Gather, you should be in Gather. This is where all the magic is happening for this entire event. So just a heads up, if you're not in Gather, there's 218 folks in Gather. Right now, I think there's just over 100 on the stream, but this is where the magic's happening. Everything's gonna be going on in here that's interactive, and then we'll have the main panel and the main presentation will be here on YouTube. So that will help us kind of hopefully have better quality control on audio and everything that we had last year. But yeah, we're going to leave these slides back up. Just again, we're about 8 minutes out. Enjoy that Gather space. Go connect with some folks. Leave this YouTube stream open. We've got a lot of fun in store for the rest of the day. We'll be back in just a minute. Okay, what is up? I'm going to try to reach out on Slack to Greamer. I'm going to see if we can get a hold of Sarah. Everything's confirmed. He should be here by now. You're not live now. I mean, we are live, but... Okay. who's sorry in the back here. You guys can keep chatting. I'm actually just going to touch base with the audience real quick. Okay, what's up, everybody who's out in the audience right now? We are about to get started here, waiting for Vlad to just join us in the background. I know he's running from a meeting, so he'll be here right at the top of the hour. Just wanted to share that inside of Gather, things are still buzzing. So be sure to make sure you're inside of that space here, but everything is going to happen on this live stream. So here in just a second, Vlad is going to join us and we will be live on the stream here with Vlad. This is super exciting to see everything going down. There's 230 people in the space, 109 of y'all here on the live stream. Looking forward to kicking this off. Just waiting again back behind the scenes for the rest of our guests, and we'll be right back. So enjoy these slides and this dope ass music, and we'll be back in just a second. All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the second annual Global Open House. Super excited. Actually, let's not even play around. Let's just bring him in. He's here. He's here to kick everything off. Maybe we should let the folks know and gather, but they can watch the replay. We're just going to jump right in. What's up, Vlad? Thanks for joining us. This is super awesome to have you here as part of this event. Second year doing this thing. Thank y'all for all the support to the community and everything that's just happening in this space. So yeah, I wanted to shoot it over to you and just talk a little bit about what community means to you all and the value of what's happening in this no code space right now. The topic today is why no code and community go together like peanut butter and jelly. So I don't know, what are your thoughts on everything that's happening here?
By the way, I love that topic. I disappear here.
There you go. Sorry about that.
Oh, there you go. It's I had flashbacks to my childhood when I would just like disappear randomly. No, that topic is awesome because when I came to America, peanut butter and jelly was like the thing that I understood the least. That and root beer, where it was like, why do these things go together? And to me, you know, now obviously it's so natural. And when I think about community and I think about really important technologies that are not just technologies in their own right, but technologies that empower people through their very presence, I think of things like the internet itself, right? When this was maybe 8-9 years into being in America, like kind of late 90s, you started to see like the magic of the early internet like really start to be present as an understanding in this social consciousness of like, hey, this is something big that could be more than just a toy, that could lead to making a living, that could lead to creating a product, that could lead to expressing yourself creatively. And I think that the thing that made the internet what it is today is the community of those early believers who saw that opportunity and started to work with each other, to support each other, to inspire each other, to help figure out like, hey, what is this thing? How can I apply it in this context? Or whether it's a business context or a creative one, or just some way to express an idea or sell a product or get something out there. And I remember, like, I would not be here if it wasn't for like the community that existed when I first started using Dreamweaver, of all things. I don't even know if that's a thing you can download anymore, although I heard the other day that there's like 1 million people that still use it. But the only reason I'm here is because there was a community college professor that created these little boot camps that I could go after high school and just get help on Dreamweaver. Because I was trying to build, these little movie trailer sites just to learn how to use the tool. And, back then it was all like tables and frames and, this is well before CSS, but it was somebody sitting next to you, inspiring you and showing you how to like harness the technology that gave you a leg up and gave you the determination to keep persevering. And I really don't think that the internet and the web would be where it is today if people didn't inherently support each other through this like magic of community in helping work out all of those kinks that lead to broader adoption of something that is fundamentally like really powerful and empowering. And I really think it's not a feature; it's like a requirement for something like no code for a community to exist to help fuel that growth.
Why now? Like, community's been a big thing in software development in, like forever, like the open source movement, blah, blah, blah. And I play with this concept of, I think Webflow's open sourcing the design process, right? So the platform itself is not necessarily open source, but the design process is, with the clonables and the copy and paste and the different things. And the support you're talking about is so strong in the community right now. So like a lot of what you're talking about is happening here, where people are just working together and building. Why is this happening now? Why? Give us a preview of the panel here.
I think it's an illusion that it might be only happening now. It's starting to happen. It's starting to become more and more visible now. Like it's harder to ignore now. It's like really more and more people are recognizing not only the value of community itself, but are recognizing what the core power of no code could be through conversations that they have with people who are already in the no code community by not even seeking that as a solution or a way to build things, etc. We had a similar like just tiny, maybe orders of magnitude smaller community in 2013 when we first launched Webflow, right, where people were like hungry to get together. I know Nelson's not in this room, but it was basically 2 or 3 people got together over like Skype to like try to figure out, okay, what is this thing? How do I try to harness this new technology to like solve a problem that I already have? It's just now we're starting to see it really, really manifest at larger scale. And more companies, like, we're seeing Notion, we're seeing a lot of other like Airtable, more and more, not only products, but just this general approach. We're starting to see critical mass, and it's still early days. We're still in the early adopter phase of no code, but it's starting to become more and more obvious and more of a accepted way to do things, which only legitimizes the approach that we've been taking, and it makes people feel like, hey, this is part of a movement now. It's not just like it's not like a secret. It's starting to become more of an open secret now, becoming more obvious and more. It attracts more people, and it amplifies by its very nature of scale, because one person creating one clonable, right, with a community of 100 can benefit potentially 100 people. But when you have a community of thousands, if not millions, then that one action, if distributed well, can now benefit millions of people, right? And that multiplies, because like one of those millions could also create something that multiplies the work of others, and it's just like a virtuous cycle that keeps building on itself. And I just
I want to jump in just real quick because I know we don't have you for too long. So I've got just another way for you to wrap up here. I kind of see like no code evolving into like its third phase. You know, like people talk about Web 3.0, but I'm thinking like no code 3.0. First one was like Excel, you know, teaching people data. The next one is kind of like where we're at now, phase 2, where it's like, let's take Excel and put it on steroids, like Airtable. Webflow took CSS, HTML, and like let you do that in a visual interface. And I think phase 3 is kind of what we're seeing evolving right now, where these things become full ecosystems, you know, where you can do the front, the back end. It's kind of like an integrated house. Can you talk a little bit about where you see no code evolving? What do you think about, you know, that concept of like the third phase of no code, where this becomes an ecosystem? And maybe you can just wrap up your time with thoughts about that.
I love how you frame that, because that's exactly how we call it internally, like phase 3. And actually we started calling it that back in 2014. I think it was like the first internal deck that we had. And it's essentially a integrated visual development environment, which is hopefully, if you watch the No Code Conf keynote that we gave in November, it starts to paint that initial picture of how things will come together into a really integrated environment that can only go so far without the magic of the assets and the extensions and all the different ways that developers and no-code developers add on to that entire ecosystem and that platform. And I think that 3.0 phase of creating an integrated visual development environment that basically says, hey, you can become a software developer, not just a website developer. You can become a software developer of all kinds through a integrated approach with millions of people in that entire ecosystem, like feeding on top of, like creating more and more assets and resources and training materials and support groups and ways to learn not only the technology but how to create a practice and a business around the technology. That's going to be a 10-year journey probably over the next decade to get to that ultimate vision. And software has taken 70 years to get to where we are today. So even in that 3.0 phase, it still is a little bit of the early journey that I'm not even sure where like 4.0 is going to take us. Right. So it is a real, even though it feels like now it's starting to come of age, it is really still the early days of the no-code community. So everyone that's here, everyone that's part of this, you are the pioneers, the still like trying to figure out the boundaries and push the boundaries of what's possible in no code. And we really don't know what the possibilities are because we're just very early in starting to explore those. And so much of that magic and exploration and vision setting comes from this community because you're the ones pushing it to the limit. You're the ones that are solving so many customer and artistic problems through no code. And I'm just so excited to see where this community grows in not just this year. I'm actually baffled that it's only been a year since the last time. It feels like it's been decades the way that time flies.
Yeah. I think it's an interesting point you say, and we'll wrap it up at this. People are talking about Web 3.0, but I'm not sure Web 2.0 has seen its full momentum. I think Webflow
Absolutely
is like
not.
the part, like Webflow is just beginning, and that's all Web 2.0. So it'll be interesting to see. And I think Vridi sitting backstage, I want to bring this up to her as part of the panel as we get into this, just about how all this is evolving. So last thoughts here, Vlad, before we jump into this main panel. Anything else you'd like to kick us off with?
The only thing I just, maybe it's a shameless plug, but I think it's one way that we are so proud and grateful for this community is to invest back into the community. If you haven't seen the announcement about our 10 million community grant program that we're working right now to figure out all the details around. We want that to be the catalyst for so many people here in this room to create resources, programs, things like this, social gatherings, ways to empower others in a one-to-many type of way. We so believe in the power of community that we want to, even if that stuff doesn't generate revenue for us, it's something that we like fundamentally believe in growing the community that has made us successful. And we really, really believe that without this community, the power of visual development, the power of no code is only going to be like a tenth of what it can be. And it's really through what you all are doing. And special shout out to Rymar, Joe, the entire team that's like organizing this event, and everyone that is helping community events like this. We want to make like hundreds of these, right? Because there's going to be so much demand for people wanting to transform how they build and feel empowered in taking part in the new internet economy, which you're totally right. Web 2.0 is probably 5% available as an empowerment medium, and we're not even close to offering it as putting into the hands of most people. So nice. Super excited for this event. I wish I could stay longer.
Yeah, all good.
I'm very grateful for this entire community.
Okay, thank you so much, Vlad. We appreciate your time today. We're gonna let you go back off to build all the things. So go do the things that let us do what we do. So we appreciate you for stopping by. We're gonna jump back into this view right here. Yeah, everyone hit that like button. Let's see what Johnny says here. Johnny's saying it right, so hit that like button. The community is the key. Alex Shafi for sure. Everyone's talking about Europe, No Code Conf 2020. Lots of stuff happening in the chat right now. So let's do this. We're going to send y'all back to the slides real quick. We're going to bring the panel back in, and we're going to come back out. We've got an hour discussion here with some interesting folks that are going to talk about no code, community, and that's going to be a blast. So anyway, sit right there. We're going to be right back. See you in a second. All right, what's up, everybody? We've got the squad. We've got the squad. Let's do this. Okay, we've got the group here. We're going to get into this panel discussion now. Let's bring the folks in who we got to chat with us today. We've got 3 of the top leaders in the whole no-code community education space here. Right, so to my, I guess what would that be? Starting from next to me on the left of your screen, I always get mixed up when I'm introducing folks. So we've got KP. Actually, let's do this. We've got this KP. Oh no, my slides are not updating. Of course not. Everything can't work perfect. God bless it. Okay. I had lower thirds for all of y'all, but we're not going to get those. KP is the director of Be On Deck. He's known as the build in public guy. Great background building in public and kind of elevating his standing in life using no code tools. So that's going to be super exciting to dig in. Greamer, we all know and love as one of the comedic faces of the Webflow education team. So we're going to dive in and talk to him about his creative journey and the whole role at Webflow as part of their education team. And Viridi is building the Eduverse in 3.0. So I want to know all about that. So let's start with you, Viridi. Just give me a quick little rundown. What does that mean, building the Eduverse?
Yeah, thanks. So the Eduverse is a metaverse space for educators. The concept is, we have LinkedIn, we've got Twitter, we've got all these social media platforms, but that was really Web 2.0, where you could engage with other people in a linear way. And what new socialization, what the future of socialization is going to be is not engaging on a platform, it's engaging in a place. And so the Eduverse is a place for educators to come together and connect with each other. And one of the biggest problems with education is that there isn't enough connection and sharing of content and knowledge. And that's why education has been stagnant for so long. And so this Eduverse will serve as a place where educators from all over the world can come together and connect, share resources, collaborate, learn with each other, earn. We're going to put a tokenomics model in there and so on and so forth. So the Eduverse is a place.
Super cool. A place. I like that. It's interesting because Gather is a place. So this thing's happening on YouTube. The stream is going out to YouTube right now, but also lots of people hanging out inside of Gather. And I know you use, Viridi, you use Gather a lot. So we'll get back to that in a second. KP, give me a little bit, build in public. Why is that important? Set me up with why folks should just get into the space, connect with community, make real connections with people across the internet, right? Like these connections turns into real business and real life. Like talk to me a little bit about your background in that, like just kind of breaking into community as a space.
Yeah, absolutely. First, thanks for having me here. So, I mean, building in public practically, changed my life. And it's no understatement to say that whatever I have right now as a career and all of the accomplishments and all of the accolades and all the good stuff that came was a direct result, if I'm being honest, of the practice and the principle of building in public. And to kind of set you up with a little context, so I was, stuck in a dead-end job, and I was in a visa, and I was, as an Indian immigrant in the US, it's not that straightforward to kind of switch jobs or go on different visas and go start a business and go, explore your side projects. And it was very suffocating to be shackled by all of these things. And my only creative outlet at the time, this is, 2017-18 period, was I knew that I had some ideas. I knew that I wanted to bring them to life. But apart from the visa barriers, the other big blocker for me was the fact that I didn't know how to code. And I was in product teams, so I kind of understood how to build product. I knew that there were different parts of building product, front end, back end, the logic part of the databases. So I had a high level understanding, but really didn't know how to write syntax and kind of do JavaScript and code. So my breakthrough was when I discovered that maybe code is not the answer. Maybe I think there is a way out of this, position that I'm stuck in by using no code. And, one of the obvious tools was, of course, Webflow, but among many other tools that came into mind. And I started building my, ideas, bringing them to life. Like they were not earth-shattering, ground-breaking ideas, but there were problems that I faced, and there were platforms and tools that I wanted to build. And I think I remember the first one went live in 5 days, and it was on Product Hunt, and it was number one product of the day. And it kind of gave me the much needed confidence at the time that there was hope for people like me. And despite all my circumstantial situations, there was still an opportunity for me to go to market and kind of explore my creativity and ideas and help someone and, kind of solve people's problems with no code. However, none of this would have been possible if I was doing this in stealth, if I was doing all of this in silo, if I was not shipping frequently in public using Twitter. And I think unintentionally, serendipitously, I landed into building in public as a movement, but it really worked. And from there, I built 13 to 14, I think 15 no-code projects towards the end. I just never looked back. And I learned the power of feedback loops. When you build something as a V1, as a first iteration, don't wait 6 months to get the feedback from the 8 to 9, alpha users or beta users, put it out there. And I think the other surprising learning for me has been like the no code community and generally the maker community has been far more forgiving and warm than I give credit for in the beginning. And they saw me through my early iterations that looked like shit. They saw me through my early products that were not, world class, but they give me feedback and they help me iterate and they help me accountability. And towards the end, I think it helped me, like build portfolio projects and, many ways led to my current position at On Deck, leading a portfolio of no-code programs at On Deck. So
yeah,
really, blessed to be part of this community.
This is an interesting concept you bring up here because everything is changing, right? I think when we talked a little bit, KP, you were talking about gatekeeping and how there are no more, people are able to break out from the gatekeepers. So I want you to think a little bit about, maybe I'm going to come back to you in a second here. I want to get Greamer in because I want to go to the education side, talking about this. You've heard Vridi talk a little bit about Web 3.0. KP is talking about building public, people talking about breaking down barriers and maybe getting past the gatekeeper. So Greamer, from your perspective as a content creator, from a video storyteller, from somebody on the video team, talk a little bit about what that's like to just be able to have this power, to be at the end of a screen, to have, 150 people watching, 220 people inside of the gather space. Like, what is this power that we have now to tell these stories and to educate people with these skills, right? These skills are helping people pay their bills. They're helping people earn a living. And what does it feel like to be on the other end of those videos, helping people break into this space? And I think, after Greamer, maybe Vridi and KP both want to chime in on that, because I know you're all bringing people into the space. So throw that out to everyone. We'll start with Greamer. What does that feel like? What is it like to be on the other side of that screen?
It honestly feels great. It's I think when you first of all, when you help someone and they learn something and they appreciate it, it just feels good helping people. And at the same time, you're also learning so much yourself when you're teaching. That's the main thing. And I remember when I kind of started using Webflow and I saw all the people sharing the clonables and just the community, I was just like, oh, wow, it was kind of new to me. I was like, they're just sharing their work and their teaching. And I remember seeing Nelson on YouTube and I was like, wow, he is just in his living room at home, people are joining in and he's teaching, and it was just incredible. So the feeling of now being a part of an education team that I have the privilege of making lessons and videos with the team, and people are very accepted for it, and they're learning something and building cool things and then taking it into their either a passion project or the business or whatever. It feels good. Selfishly it feels good, but it's I don't know, it just gets better and better. So I could go on and on and on, but I'd love to hear someone else take on.
When I see Greamer, I can't help but laugh. So
yes, so that's my other selfish thing. If I can make someone laugh, yes, that's good. So
yeah. Vridi, any thoughts on bringing people in and empowering people to kind of make a living off of their creative skill set here, or in the education and the eduverse, teach other people with these skills?
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because earlier when you were talking to Vlad, you guys started talking about no code 3.0 as a parallel to Web 3.0. And the great thing about Web 3.0 is not so much the technology, but it's the ethos. And the ethos is about decentralization. It's about empowerment. It's about access. It's about people being able to get the opportunities that they need without having to go through a central entity. And no code has been doing that for a really long time, right? The rapid prototyping, the access to tools, and being able to, as KP said, having this whole new world open up to you without having to code. The internet is really driving the world forward, and if we can access that, that's huge. And so what's funny about this is that the Web 3.0 movement right now is really undergirded by this decentralized access ethos, and no code has been there for a really long time. So I would argue that no code has been part of the Web 3.0 world before the Web 3.0 phrase got really popularized in the last year. So this entire access piece is super integral to how people are going to actually evolve with the future. So Web 3.0 is actually bringing in four major trends in workforce. One is the gig economy, the second is the creators economy, the third is remote work, and the fourth is unbundled learning. And all of the things that no code does really lets us move into those four workforce trends and lets us actually be empowered towards them. So totally agree with what Groomer was saying and what you were saying.
Yeah. KP, I'm going to toss that same question to you. And yeah, maybe you want to, I don't know, expand on any of those points made there. Vridi had those 4 spots. I'm going to have to go back, like get those. I need some notes here.
Right?
Go ahead, KP.
I think I'm prepared for note taking, but I think so one prediction that I have, and I could be 100% wrong, but I'm going to be bold enough and put it out on the record, is if you zoom in 10 20 years from now, I think historically storytellers have always had disproportionate impact and influence in our lives, right? But storytellers were limited to media that was gate kept, and I think that's one of the themes that we're seeing, that there are no more gates on the internet. There's no more gatekeepers, no more middlemen. If you would think you're going to be the next big rapper, go to SoundCloud. If you think you're going to be the next big comedian or stand-up comic, go to TikTok or go to YouTube like Grimmer here and make funny videos on Webflow. But I think the future is of content creators, in my view, and there's only 2 personas that will, I think, disproportionately thrive over everything else. Of course, there will be other jobs. I'm not saying AI is going to come after all of us, but I'm saying that these are the 2 big jobs / roles that will be significantly important in the next 20-30 years. Role number 1, being a comedian, entertainer, someone who can make people laugh. As we become more and more internet centric and less IRL probably, and you're seeing next generation Roblox, you're seeing all of this, they're living more decentralized on the internet, on the chain. The future is all digital. In that world, I think a comic relief or comedic relief or someone who can entertain audiences, I think is going to be a massive opportunity. The other big thing, which is super underrated as we speak right now, is being a teacher. And when I say being a teacher, it's not necessarily teaching someone math or teaching someone, geography, but an educator of sorts, like someone who can educate, inspire, someone who can share playbooks, someone who can be open, authentic, and honest. I think those 2 are going to be the top 2 highest paid jobs in the next 10, 20 years. Maybe they're not called those jobs, right? But if you think about the people who today have a huge role in our minds and heads, I think those are the people that I can kind of think about. So I think that's something that as I'm reflecting here in public with all of you, I think it's going to be very, very important for the next 20 years.
Yeah, you made an interesting point about the power thing and the gatekeeping of power. And I also see the evolution, the shifting of culture. I shared a little snip the other day. I kind of want to show this and go to this because it's interesting to the space that we're in right now. And it's talking about shaping information and exactly what you're talking about. Since the beginning of time, power has been controlled by the creation and flow of that information. It works like this. People in power tell stories, which leads to the formation of a community around the premise of that story. As the community grows, it leads to formalized culture. Formalized culture leads to new technology. New technology leads to new stories, and those new stories start the cycle anew. And I think we're at the phase right now where this new technology is allowing so many of us to tell our own stories, and we're writing and shaping that as we move forward. Greamer, from a Webflow standpoint, why approach education like you all do? Literally people are in here popping off talking about McGuire is comedy gold. Let's see, so many things. McGuire and Greamer had their own comedy show. So you all take an approach to education that's more than just educating. It's about entertaining. It's about what KP was just talking about. Why? I mean, it's been super valuable. I don't know anybody who's got better educational content than Webflow. So talk to me a little bit about the process of creating that type of content, of that approach of bringing the humor in, and why you see that as so valuable to, what we're talking about here.
Absolutely. And I didn't see who wrote the comment, but yeah, McGuire, he's a comedy genius. But I think, there's a lot out there, and I think, entertaining and empowering and educating and putting all that together is a very strong formula to kind of stand out and be interesting. And also, there's so much out there. So, how do you keep people's attention? humor is a very good way of doing that, and kind of breaking the path of if it's a video or a lesson or an article or whatever, like, you want to be kind of like, entertained a little bit. So that's why I think comedy is very helpful. Then there's a thin line. It can't just be jokes and just be silly. Obviously not. So there's a fine line there. And I think in our team, it kind of just evolved since I started. Like the writing sessions are something we pick up together. We're talking about it, and a lot of it is scripted when we're doing it. But sometimes it's ad lib, and we change things on the fly because we have that sense of trust between each other, and we allow it to happen. And then that's sometimes where the best comedy relief comes up. So you just gotta try it out.
Can I chime in here? And I want to add to Grimmer's great point here. So I mean, one thing that a lot of us, and this is not age related, but this is basically in our current generation, this is our current times, we're looking and longing for digital intimacy. And COVID has made it very clear that you can still, belong in a community. You can still be part of something that's greater than you digitally. And that's why Webflow, like we have, 300 people, 400 people in that gather room, and more than 100 plus people that are watching this. Like none of these people are in the same room, right? We're not physically in the same zip code. However, there's a sense of understanding. Like when I saw Grimmer's face, I laughed immediately because I'm like, oh my God, it's Grimmer, it's the guy from Webflow videos. So I think people, like we're in this transition period where
with my face, everyone's laughing at my face.
No, it's great. Like I said earlier, like I think comedy on the internet or teaching on the internet is going to be disproportionately more valuable. And when you do it authentically, the reason why comedy works, Grimmer, in your case, the reason why people love you is because comedy is about truth telling. You're telling the truth, right? And people, like in a world where that's filled with, fraud and like scam and like people are like trying to like fake it, flexing it on each other, a refreshing line of humor, even if it's self-deprecating, many times you joke at yourself, is so refreshing because people want authenticity. People want to know that they can have a beer or coffee with you. And I think that's where people like you are winning, and people like, educators who are so honest about, hey, my some of the stuff that I love about Vridi is like, she's very honest and authentic about the journey. It's not all roses, right? Being a founder, building in the Eduverse or being in the metaverse is not all roses. And I think that authenticity is what people want. And that's how we're going to build community going forward.
From a psychological standpoint, your neural pathways are actually opened up when you're engaging in humor. So that's often why like speakers will start with a joke and will sort of like loosen the audience up, because you actually can learn more when you're actually like laughing and smiling. And I think another side to that is there's so much in the world that, especially in the last 3 years, that has been really disheartening and really, just not great. And there's like this song in Bollywood where they basically talk about how Bollywood has been so popular in India because it basically lets people, the poorest of people in India, access content that takes them away from their reality. And although that's not like always good, I think that's why comedy and humor really works in education too, because it allows people to disassociate themselves from their baggage or from their, preconceived misconceptions or conceptions or whatever. And then they can sort of like dive into the new content from a fresh perspective and from an optimistic perspective. So the entertainment piece is, it's really important. It's an unfortunate and a fortunate thing.
Yeah. I'd like to, it's hard to be funny, right? Like you're either naturally kind of funny a little bit because you can force it and it can feel inauthentic too. And so it is something I would encourage everyone to explore. I remember in my Dales going door-to-door sales, I would literally walk into business and the first thing I would do is find a way to break the ice, talk to somebody about anything other than what my intended purpose was in that moment and get them past that layer of like, hey, what are you doing? And I think that's the same kind of concept in all of this stuff, right? It's very intimidating to try to learn some of these no-code tools, and some of even though you're not writing the code, they are still technically complex. And so a little bit of humor to soften that, a little bit of thing, to just bring people in, I think is super helpful. I want to kind of shift gears though. because I think most of the folks here, I don't know that anybody came from a silver spoon. I know I didn't on the panel here. I think most of us kind of broke into the space here, and here we are now talking to lots of people, doing interesting things in the world, impacting things in our own little way. So can we just run down the line a little bit and talk about how people might be breaking into the space, right? Maybe you're watching right now and you're like, yeah, but they work at Webflow, or KP's over at Beyond Deck, or Verity's already got all this Eduverse stuff going, and she like knows all the educators. So like, obviously it's easy for them, but it wasn't always like that, right? We talked on the stream the other day where I remember having like, a few bucks in my pocket trying to break into the space. KP, you told me the other day, like your story hasn't changed a whole lot, but now people take you more seriously because you've got this platform. So I don't know who wants to jump in, but like, let's talk about breaking in and actually getting to a place where people take you seriously professionally in the realm here, even if you don't have the credentials, let's say.
I'll kick this off, and Verity is smiling because she knows my story. But look, I think one surprising lesson that I've learned in my career in the last 4 years is that, first of all, it went from nothing. I was a guy on the street, literally like with zero social capital, with no connections, no insider networks. I live in Atlanta, in like suburbs Atlanta, like which is far removed from Silicon Valley. Like my peers right now, my day-to-day right now is so mind-blowing to my own self from like the 2016-17 perspective. And so it's always like, I have to pinch myself. Like, I can't believe I had a meeting with this person, XYZ, right? And I'm like, but I think when you get here, you realize, that nothing is granted, nothing is given. You have to earn it. Now, of course, you could be lucky. Now, luck could play a massive role in the beginning of your career, where maybe you were born in the right setup, in the right environment, the right conditions, and that's different. But if you are like the majority of us, including on this panel, if you were not unbelievably lucky, you had to build your own podium. I feel like that's what I'd done. I built brick by brick my own podium, and now I'm standing on the podium and able to talk to people. But it wasn't that easy. I started at 414 followers on Twitter. I started with no connections ever with anybody in startups. And I didn't even know what the word LP or VC meant in startups. So it had to be an educational, thoughtful experience. And that's why, again, I think coming back to community, Reimer, I think that's why it's so important. A lot of my success was co-built with the community. That's why you can never take community and product apart. I feel like Webflow or Bubble Tech, any of these no-code tools, the tool is part of the community and community is part of the tool. You can't separate them that easily, because so much about the tool's success was built on the foundations, on the shoulders of people who were willing to help each other out and like try the tool, give feedback, give like product feedback, or or evangelize the tool in other communities that were not part of no code, and so on. So that was my story. But I think I'm curious to hear what specific stories you both have.
Verity,
take it up. Take it away.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I really admire KP. I actually learned all about no code and building in public from him. So I'm really excited to be here, sitting next to him. But I actually didn't have a Twitter account until December of 2020, and I didn't have a LinkedIn account or a Clubhouse account or any of it. So I was actually completely off social media. And then when I actually got on it, I realized that the best way to actually, build an audience or build a community is to be authentic, as KP said, but also to take action. I think the taking action piece is really important, especially no code, because it allows you to rapidly prototype. And so in September of 2020, when COVID had just sort of like gotten all of the educators to start doing remote learning and all that, I attended a couple of conferences, and the conferences were all floating heads on Zoom. And so it was like 6 days of just people talking at you. There wasn't even a lot of interaction. They didn't have like really great, breakout rooms at that point either. And I had discovered GatherTown that summer, and I had already started experimenting with them, and we were actually one of their first clients. And the GatherTown space was just so magical, right? And a lot of you are experiencing it right now, where you can walk around. It's spatially oriented so that you can sort of choose your own adventure. You can connect with other people just by walking up to them, and you can sort of design the space in whatever way you want. And so that sort of exploratory adventure type of environment to me was a no-brainer for how conferences should operate. And so instead of like trying to convince someone to give me money to do it or trying to convince a big conference person to do it themselves, I did try. I did like go to all the major conferences. I was like, hey, why aren't you doing it in an avatar-based environment? Why is it a Zoom? The Zoom is awful. No one really like bought that. They were just like, no, it's too hard. They couldn't really understand how to like make it happen. So I just made it happen. So in 2 months, I started in about December or November. I started building out a GatherTown conference. It was the first gamified conference for education. And it was about the future of learning and the future of education. And we hosted it in January of 2021. And we had about 1,000 people sign up over the course of 2 weeks. And we had about 700 people show up. And it was like it blew up Twitter, basically education Twitter. And everybody who was in the environment was just like, this is the best conference I've ever been to. And I can't believe I ran into a friend I haven't seen in 2 years. Like you don't get those experiences on Zoom, right? You can't just run into someone. Like you might see their face and you're like, oh, cool, you're here. But you don't like physically run into them. And so I think that like action oriented mentality, which is like, I was just like, well, I'm just going to do it, is really what brought me to, you know, the concept of the Eduverse. And we've built a community of 100,000 educators. And we have, you know, all of these, we've got over like 100 partners in education that are really interested in everything that we're doing. And we partnered with Sal Khan and all these like great people. And I think it was really just like the action, right? And so that's why like no code is so important for, I think, the evolution of the world, because people can put an idea into action overnight. And that is an unparalleled opportunity, I think, for anyone, you know, for anyone that is in any area of the planet. If you have access to the internet and a computer, and you can learn something, you know, on no code, then you can basically make anything happen for yourself. And I think that's huge.
Yeah. I get excited every time I hear this, because it's like, you know, just get out there and do it. I remember I just wanted to do something different with my life. I had been in sales for a long time and I was like, I'm done selling other people's shit. I want to sell me. But I didn't have a product. I didn't have a thing. I didn't have anything to go. And like, so I started with WordPress. And at the time, you know, you could build a little something, and I built a little forum, and I started playing with blogging, and that went viral. And like millions and millions of views. Next thing you know, I'm on Huffington Post, I'm on Elite Daily, I'm contributing to all these blogs, and I'm like, I made it. I'm about to be rich. Nope, no money in my pocket. Literally no money in my pocket, right? Hundreds of thousands, millions of page views, no dollars for me. And I started thinking like, well, how do I monetize this then? And that's what led me into like figuring out, well, how do I turn this audience into a community? How do I build a product for this community? Ended up getting some startup funding. That went down. We spent 2 years literally just struggling with a software and this, that, the other. And that's what pushed me into no code. That process of figuring out how do I turn this little bit of attention that I got once for playing around with this thing. I always talk about, we have a magic box on our desk that we just touch this thing and money can come out of it. Relationships can come out of it. So I'd be interested to know your thoughts, Greamer, like what does it mean to have this power at your fingertips here where you can literally create out of nothing, like an event like this, to have this many people engaging and interacting. Like I'm used to just being around them, but to have this kind of energy online, like, I don't know, any thoughts on that, Greamer, or on anything that we've talked about here? Just, yeah.
Yeah, I can speak a little bit to kind of like how I got into it, and maybe that's based on that a little bit. But my path to the US was through, you know, student visa. And since I was 5 to 19, I wanted to be a soccer player. That's it. I was going to be a soccer player, and obviously that didn't happen. But fortunately, I was able to, you know, get student loans in Iceland. So I got a lot of student loans, but I also got some sort of scholarship to come here. So that was like about 10 years ago or something. And, you know, and I study, my background is in video and web design as well. So, you know, once I'm wrapping up my second degree, so I could stay here, it's a longer story. You know, people who know visas, that's a little complex. But that's where I, you know, get to know Webflow, and I, you know, get to know that sense of like online community. And I remember there was like a event that I wanted to attend, and you know, I definitely could not afford it. And I asked my girlfriend and my wife now to and my parents too, like, hey, can I get an early birthday present so I can go there? I think the people there, like, they're in the industry. I'm just gonna go for it. And I went there. It was awesome. You know, I met Vlad and ran and got to know a little bit. I was like very introverted, but I learned a lot. So that was like a sense of community all of a sudden. But, you know, speaking to the point of like, you know, what should people do? Like, that was one step, like, okay, I'm gonna just go for it. And then I think I'm still, after I graduated, I applied for like probably 3,000 jobs. I think I'm still getting replies, automatic denies to this day. But I saw Webflow's Webflow job description, I think in 2018. I was like, oh my God, they have a job application for a video editor. I like video, I like web, this is for me. So I was like, that's a longer story too, but I was like, I'm going to do everything I can to get the attention for my job application, which I, you know, eventually did. And then, you know, I can talk about that later, but that's a few things of like figuring out a little bit what you want, what you've done, and then just take the chance, go for it. And then things happen. Follow your gut sometimes. I'm still like learning a lot just day by day and just with the gut.
I think it's amazing how much of this is really like your resourcefulness as an individual, right? What's your grit? What's your determination to like figure it out? Because, you know, Irene is saying something here about, I think it's a mistake to spread that Webflow is overly easy. And I agree. We did a whole episode of that. None of these no-code tools are easy. And so you could easily rack your head against this thing and then, you know, quit a week later, a month later. You could make a video or two and nobody watches it and you're like, well, I guess I can't get an audience. But let's talk a little bit about that consistency, the grit, how long you have to kind of stick with this stuff, how hard it is to finally get that little bit of opportunity, right? Sometimes it feels like you're just doing all these things and you're spending all this energy and maybe nobody's really like appreciating what you're doing. And then all of a sudden, poof, you take off. And it's like that, you know, 7-year overnight success. And everybody's like, oh, look at this guy, how lucky he is. He just went viral, blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, no, it's not like that. So
first of all, anybody who went viral will promise, I promise you, will tell you that they had no clue that they were going to go viral that night. Like, no freaking clue. If anybody knew, if Drake knew that his single is going to go viral, he would keep making the same song 800 times. Nobody knows. Even DJ Khaled doesn't know. So I think like the thing with the virality is it's overrated, but what's underrated is impact. And I think a lot of us who had like any share of success realized that, man, like the moment I shifted my North Star towards impact and serving people and serving a community, serving an audience, serving people who were, you know, like you 3 years ago in that spot, suddenly your influence and impact grows. And virality will come in. And so Edmund, you know, who's pretty active in the no-code community, he and I have this ongoing conversation. We just text each other Kanye's lyrics, and one of the verses that I love is that, you know, in the song Power, he talks about how reality catches up with you, right? That's what success is. Reality will take some time to catch up with what's in your mind, in your imagination. But once you have an idea, it's in your imagination, it's percolating, it's nurturing, it's forming. Go act on it. That's like what Brady was saying earlier. Today we live in this permissionless world. No gatekeepers. I mean, they're there, but they don't have the ultimate power. You have the ultimate power on this thing called iPhone. And you know, if you want to go create a new YouTube channel, want to go create a new TikTok account, if you want to be active on Clubhouse, if you want, like, you know, it could be anything, but do it because you care and do it because you want to grow your impact and serve people. And ironically, the more you do that, the less you chase the North Star of virality. Later, it starts chasing you. And there's this 100% truth to this thing when you hear when someone says, when it rains, it pours. Like the first 1,000 followers on Twitter that I had took me 8 months. And then when I hit 30K, I slept one week and woke up on Monday morning at 1,000 people. It's so unfair. It's so ridiculously unfair towards the end. And the same thing with my job offers. You know, this is speaking from my experience. When I first applied to a local job in Atlanta for a startup, they had I think there was 4 interviews, and I never got to the second round, third round, or whatever final round. And when I finally became the building public guy and all this, 3 years fast forward, I had 13 offers. It's so unfair. And so it is that's how it's set up, and that's how it will feel like. Everything towards the end will be sudden.
Yeah.
But a lot of people, I think, are losing because they're giving up too early. And I think there's a lot of self-defeating thoughts that they have that they're not worthy enough or they're not good enough. I am proof. Literally, I am proof. I'm sure Vridi will agree and Grimur will agree. You don't have to be any different. My IQ didn't grow 300 points. I'm still the same guy from 4 years ago. Edmund will vouch. Everybody will vouch. It's just that my impact has grown. And I went and got to do that myself with no permission. And I advise the same thing for all of you.
Yeah.
I can add one
Creamer,
quick self-help
sure.
motivation thing that I saw. I think I saw it on Twitter or something. I don't know who said it or where it comes from, but it's the idea of we all have these expectations of ourselves in the future. Oh, in 3 months, I'm going to be this, I'm going to do this. Oh, in 6 months, I'm going to do this, whatever it is. So instead of like always, looking at it far away, approach it more like, hey, I'm here today, I'm doing this, and the future kind of comes to you versus like you're always chasing something. So I'm totally stealing this from someone on Twitter or somewhere, but I really like resonated with that. I thought it was like, wow, that's so deep, that's so cool. So that's
it's like it's like the quote about underestimating or overestimating what you can do a year and underestimating what you can do in 3 or 5 years. So that's a longer trajectory. Go ahead, Vridi.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. I think a caveat that I would add to that is working really, really hard at something doesn't always yield results, right? You can be working on something that like isn't a great idea and you can work on it like till you die and it's not going to work. And so like I think there is a little bit of a, recognizing and being aware of not only yourself, but of others and how they're responding to your content and constantly iterating. If you're evolving and you're growing and you're iterating your the way that you impact, the way that you're developing, a product, a video or whatever, that's going to be really important. And I think that goes back to KP's point, which is like, if your mindset is to serve, if your mindset is to impact, then you're going to be more open to listening to that feedback and being more responsive. If your mindset is to like, just like gain an influence, because if you're trying to gain an influence and you're going to be deaf to the people that you're actually trying to influence. Yeah. And so that's really important. And then like the novelty piece is also really important, like making sure that you're solving a problem or that you're seeing something in a different way or that you're sort of accessing something or presenting something in a way that is like unique, right? And if you're just sort of like, copying somebody else, or if you're just sort of like building more content in a very noisy market already that is sort of redundant, then that's not going to work either. So like I completely agree with what your ideas are, but I think there is like a little bit of a caveat there that like you do need to be working on something that is going to actually make an impact.
Yeah, I want to bring this comment up right here. Spencer saying, what's the narrative, though, about why to stick with no code when the temptation to say, forget it, let's just get a developer to do it right? And I want to point out what you just said there, Vridi, is that iteration. When you're working with a developer who you have to communicate with versus your ability to just like go in and tinker and move a little thing and not have to go through an agile process or wait for someone to catch up or, like go through rounds of iterations on your own at lightning speed because this little nugget is over here and you're like, oh no, this should be over here. But to translate that to a developer, I think that's the hook. So does anybody, and we'll just open this up to we'll spend the last 15 minutes doing questions from the audience. So if y'all have anything you'd like to ask the panel, if you'd like to jump into the conversation here, go ahead and leave them in the comments. We'll watch that. So anybody have anything to say to Spencer here about, what the move is here or why stick with no code?
Yeah, just a little point on that. It's about empowerment more so than it is about execution. So, KP emphasizes the journey a lot. And the reason the journey is so important is because you're empowering yourself to do something that you can iterate on, that you can grow on, that you can do again in the future. And so if you're looking for, a one solution, if you think you have like the best idea on the planet and it's definitely going to succeed, okay, get a developer, but like that's likely not the case. And so if you're trying to like evolve and iterate and empower yourself to actually like experiment with new things on the daily, then no code is a great way to do that. And you're never going to be able to have that autonomy and that flexibility and that ability to really own the journey and really own the product that you're creating if you're not doing like, at least a little bit of it yourself.
Very well said. Any other thoughts there, Greimer or KP, on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think, look, there's also a perception that the only right way is the one that's done by a developer. And I disagree. I think it's like, photography, right? Like, of course, I could hire the world's best photographer to record my video or my short film or whatever. And yes, great. There's that person was, he or she knows the technique, the golden ratio. Yes, they got that. But how much of it is me? and how much of it is like my own expression, creative expression. And we live in this world where we don't ever second guess or second think like about pulling out your iPhone and taking your kids' birthday pictures or the expressions, you catching the moment and like, you know, doing whatever creative expression and remix and whatnot. But suddenly when it comes to code, we're like, no, it has to be done by someone like trained in a boot camp. That person is no god. Like, let's stop evangelizing that too much. I feel like I know more shitty developers than awesome no coders in the world, period. There are so many people who are so bad at communication. They're so bad at like taking requirements and like understanding what we mean by the requirement, and they will do their own version and it looks so bad. And you're like, oh my God, how could you not know this? So you will struggle with trying to communicate to a third party or a second person about what's in your head, what's in your imagination, if you're constantly having to, you know, like write requirements and send it over an email or Notion, as opposed to if you took the matter in your own hands, kind of like cooking your own dish, you know, yes, it may not be perfect, but it's you, you know, and I think there's no shame in that, you know, so.
I think that sentiment of being able to go and build on your own is why this stuff is catching traction, because creatives forever, people with ideas, innovators have been beating their head against that hurdle of code for a long time. And that translation layer is what we're seeing be abstracted, right? Now designers and creative folks can jump into that. So Greemer, I'm going to toss this to you to throw thoughts in on this, or Keith's got a good question here about what are a few things that make strong and connected community. So you're welcome to chime in on the last one or jump in here on this one if you got any thoughts.
Yeah, just quickly, I agree with both, and you know, just having that full control, creative control, and you know, as a solo entrepreneur, or even for my case back in the day, like as a student, and I was working on my thesis project, I was like, I wasn't able to figure out the coding, and I found Webflow. It helped me a lot. So there's a lot of different examples there, but what are the few key things you guys feel makes a strong, connected community? I think it's, you know, it's the sense of belonging. It's the sense of, you know, being able to, you know, come from wherever in the world to be interested in something maybe specific, but at the same time, you're also, you know, you're getting to know people from different culture, different background, you know, how's the, you know, weather, where you come from, what do you like to eat? Like there's so much like that comes with being in a community and like strongly connected with someone, not just, oh, I learned how to, you know, make the section full width and do whatever like that is. But, you know, it's just knowing that there's people all over the world with the same interest of you, but still so different. And I think that's the key to, you know, learn so much yourself, is to get to know others and listen and just, you know, experience things with other people. That's how you grow.
Right. Find your tribe, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's so important in this digital era that we find ways to build community. For the longest time in the evolution of society, community was your village, right? And in order for that village to defend itself and to grow and to build, you had to have some unified beliefs, right? You had to have some common ground with the people that were around you. And we're in a digital world where we're not necessarily connecting in small villages like that. And we don't have those unified beliefs. We don't share values with the folks that are maybe like right next to us. But with these online communities, you can find those shared values. You can connect with people all over the world to form these little tribes. And I think that's what's so unique about what's happening in this moment, right? Is that we're finally at the place where all of the technology allows us to actually make this feasible, right? To be in Gather and streaming and have y'all in different places in the world right now, and, you know, building stuff that people can interact with and touch and play. And so it's like, let's jump into that. Let's close with that as a thought, right? Like this, we're on the precipice of just a huge dynamic shift in the way that we talked about power earlier, the way that the stories are created, the way that the culture is affected, the way that this technology gives people, you know, the ability to do this stuff. So let's just run through. We'll start Vreedy and then Greemer and KP. These would be kind of like the wrapping up thoughts here before we jump into the global selfie. But talk to me a little bit about this trend that you see, and where is this headed? Why is this all happening like right this second?
Yeah. Just to answer a little bit of the previous question. So I think there's like two sides to community. There's the human side and there's the logistical side. And you need both in order for a community to really thrive. So if you don't have the human values, as you said, Raymar, and the sort of like connectivity points and the relationship building, it's not going to work. But if you also don't have like the systems and the infrastructure to ensure that the community is operating at an optimal level, it's not going to work either. So both of those things are really important. And I think with no-code tools and with community building online, that actually is becoming a lot easier because there are all of these no-code tools popping up that will allow you to actually manage your community really well. And so I think the future of community is, it's actually, I think there's going to be a larger divide in the type of niche topics that people are going to be able to access. Right now, there's, you've got your traditional like meetup stuff, and you've got Reddit, and you've got Facebook, and you've got Twitter. And those allow you to sort of engage with people in a way that's a little bit linear, a little bit asynchronous, and allows you to sort of hone in on a particular topic. But I think the evolution of that is really being synchronous. So this idea of an avatar-based environment, whether it's Gather or if it's any other platform that's going to emerge, the concept of a metaverse space where you can actually connect with people synchronously, that increases the probability and the ability for you to build a relationship. Because connecting with somebody via chat is one thing, but being able to see their expressions, being able to see their movement, being able to experience them as sort of like this soul and this aura that sort of like come at you through video is like completely different. And then also adding to that the idea of autonomy and agency, being able to go where you want to go and being able to experience what you want to experience, whether it's in a realistic or an enhanced environment. I think the sort of shared experience piece is also going to increase your ability to create relationships. So the world has already been global because of the internet, but now it's about to get a lot closer and a lot more intense in the way that you actually can connect with people globally.
Yeah. Greemer, closing thoughts?
I mean, I don't think I can explain that better than Ritu. Thank you so much. I'm excited actually to maybe try things out in the metaverse and see how that feels. I've never done that. But I think it comes down to, the tools are going to get better and better, but eventually it's about, how you use them and the story you're telling, and that's how you connect. So, but what no-code tools are doing are, they're, breaking the barrier and making it easier for everyone to, tell their story or, share their project. And that's how we connect with the message, with the story. So I'm just very, grateful to be a part of something like that. I know we're early on in this, it's not in movement, but in this world, but, to see how it all goes and be a small part of it. I'm just very thankful for that. So
yeah. KP.
So in my closing thoughts, I want to remind everyone who's watching this that think of, go back to that version of you 3, 4, 5 years ago before you discovered the power of no code, and how how much of an aha moment you had when you were like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm able to take my ideas and then bring them to life, bring them to a website or web page or CMS or whatever technical term that is, and just think about the level of empowerment and the joy you had at those days. I distinctly remember that still till today, where I went from frustration to a sense of fulfillment and joy. And I know many of you who are watching this had felt some version of that. So my mission and all of your mission, if you choose to join me in my mission, is to bring that level of joy and that level of awareness, that level of magic to the next million, next billion people who are in the dark. No code, we all think is so big and so mainstream, but as we all know, there's so much work to be done. The work is cut out for all of us. We're all through this event itself, right, Mario? What you guys are doing, and what we do and what I do, all of us, what we're trying to do here is to build the on-ramp for the next billion people who have never heard of no code but could be beneficiaries of no code. And that's the mission that I'm excited about, and I think that's the future that we all want to be, playing a role in.
Yeah, I think that's such a good way to put it and to end that. I think if you're watching this, there's no limit to the potential in front of you. If you're in this moment, like KP said, maybe it seems like there's a lot here, but this is just getting started. we're at the beginning of what is going to be a massive wave of visual software development, of creative tools, of communities that just, yeah, I don't know. I think that's like the singularity moment, right? Where it's like, we don't know what this leads to. We don't know what people will come up with. We don't know what you watching in the audience is going to build next week, next month, next year. That's going to change the way we have these kind of meetings or these kind of interactions 2 years from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now, whatever it is. And I think that's what I'm very bullish on, is just the potential for all that and what's coming next. So. Whoo, child, that's it. We just did just under an hour, but I think, and any other closing thoughts here? Because what I want to do is I want to go back to this shot here, and I want to like see what's happening in Gather, and then we're going to jump into this, the big selfie. So we can keep chatting as we go into this, I think. But let's, I might need to spotlight myself in here. Let me do an announcement for the folks and let people know we're about to jump into that selfie. Just hang with me for 1 second here as I spotlight my character and make sure I'm unmuted. All right, what's up, everybody? Thank you. If you've been tuning in live or here inside of Gather, as you can see, there's still almost a couple hundred people inside of Gather. There's still 150 on the live stream. We're going to jump into this global selfie. So if you have not seen it yet, everybody needs to be headed up towards the top of the map. There's a globe outside, right? So head up towards the top of the map here. If you're in the co-working space, you want to go to the outside area. If you're on the auditorium, you want to go to the outside area. Just touch the globe anywhere on the globe, and we'll be there in a second. Find your place in the world. I'm going to go do the spotlight in a couple other places, and then we'll meet y'all there at the globe. And if you're with us here in the stream, or if you're one of the guests on the panel here, Vridi, KP, Greamer, if y'all want to jump in, that'd be great too. So I'm going to just jump over here and make one more announcement inside of this room. Okay, what's up, everybody? Just a reminder, we're going to jump into this global selfie here. So if you're watching, go ahead and step out into the outdoor. You want to go to the top of this map. So follow everyone to the top of the map. You want to touch the globe outside. You go walk into the globe. Everyone's gonna walk into a big room. Let's see if this crashes some computers as we do this big selfie. So yeah, everybody in this room should be headed up into the globe outside here. All right, what's up, everyone? If you're listening, again, we're all headed to the globe. Just everyone walk over to this big globe and touch the globe. Wherever you touch the globe, that's where you're gonna pop into the map. So just to FYI, come over to the globe in the middle of the green space here, the middle of the outdoor space. If you're in the train station, you want to take the train to the town hall area, and then again, come and touch this globe, and we'll give folks just a minute to get to the to get to the world. Let's see who all's in here. Okay, and then I'm going to zoom out just a bit. Let's see, user. Nope, that's not it. User, smart zoom. Okay.
Raymar, can you drop the GatherTown link?
Oh yeah. If you go to global-meetup.webflow.io and you click the join event and gather, it'll take you right there. Okay, let's see where the folks are at. Europe is popping. Europe is crazy right now. I see that. What's up, everybody in the space? Hello, hello. This is cool to see the whole world of folks on this map. Oh, this is great. Okay, so
I'm just
if
going
you're
to be by myself, man.
What's
I don't know
that?
if there's another Peruvian.
Who's in Peru? All right, so just find your place on the map. We're going to give people just another second to find their place. Gabe and I do believe Alicia is walking around and doing some screencasting here, but this is it. This is our virtual globy here, our virtual selfie. Let's go full screen on this thing. And I think they can't hear if I do that. They can't hear the panel, so we'll leave the panel. And then after this is the panel. Will y'all be available to maybe jump into the auditorium if people want to get hands-on with you all? This is wild.
The thing.
Okay, got it. We're just gonna give folks just a second to figure out where they're going here, and then I have another camera on a bigger monitor that I'm gonna pull up just for me to be able to take a proper screenshot of the selfie here. I see All right, so everybody strike your poses. We got 205 people. I don't know if there's 205 people on this part of the map, but get to the globe. If you're not in the globe area and you're watching the live stream, get to the globe. You want to be in the world map, which is in the town square in the middle of the room. Okay. Oh my goodness, Gabe, I hope you're getting all this footage, man.
Is there a way for you to see like the whole map?
There
Or are
is
you
not a
taking
better
by
way for me to
sections?
zoom out. On my bigger monitor, I am. If you at home want to, you can come to your tab here. If you click on your settings and go to user, and then click the turn off use smart zoom. If you, let's mute this. If you turn off use smart zoom, so if you go smart zoom, it'll zoom in, but if you turn that off, then you can zoom out on your map. So if you're at home and you want to see a bigger picture of the full map, that's a good way to do that. Geez, look at Europe here. Oh, this is amazing. Okay, let me grab this screen capture real quick. Actually, let me minimize this. Okay, cool. Screenshot. All right. Nice. Okay. Should we get everyone dancing inside of Gather here? If you hit the Z button while you dance, or while you're in Gather, you hear a little avatar will start dancing. And then I wonder if we crash Gather's server if we all start hitting the F button and throwing confetti. Let's see if my computer will let me open Photoshop while also doing all of this. Okay, that's it, y'all. That's the global selfie. I do want to capture, before we let everyone go, I want to make sure this is stored somewhere. It's not letting me save it. Okay, so if you're out there and you got a big screen, maybe you can help us. My computer is having a hard time running Gather and also capturing the screenshot. Okay, there it is. I got it.
This is so cool, Raymar.
Let me do one more. Oh, look at Nicola. There's people all over. This is unreal. This is unreal. Okay, we got the picture. And I think now what I'd like to do is maybe zoom in a little bit and get like some moving shots just around the screen on the live stream. So any thoughts? We can feel free, chat. Everyone can hear y'all still on the stream. Greamer and Vriti and KP, any thoughts as you see this? Like just as we wrap up this conversation and you see this many people just kind of like hanging out here, what kind of thoughts are you getting as you see this stuff?
This is incredible. To be honest with you, this is my first time on GatherTown, so I'm trying to figure out where to go and what to do. And I like it.
Yeah.
And I like the shape of Iceland. It's very cool.
Vriti, you do a lot of events in Gather. Are we living up to the standards here?
Yeah, this is incredible. The visualization of where everyone's coming from and the fact that they can now connect with other people that are in their same area is sort of magical. Because like they've probably been walking around all day with just like names, right? But now they know like, oh, I'm the only person in Uganda and there's another person in Uganda from here. So I get to connect with them. So like that's just super magical.
Yeah. Our plan for this map here, by the way, is to drop a pin for every meetup that exists. So if you're looking for a community, if you're looking for something and you're like, hey, I wonder if anybody in my part of the world is like, you know, doing a meetup. Well, ideally you can jump into the map here and then you can see like, oh, look, there's some people in Israel doing a thing. Oh, they're in Spain doing a thing. Oh, they're in Florida doing a thing, or wherever it is in the world, you know, that we can have a little directory that people can just jump in. So there you have it, 211 people on a global community selfie. I think it's the first time we've ever taken in the Webflow community a selfie this big. So we're gonna go ahead and wind this down, y'all. Thank you so much. If you wanna head to the auditorium, so the way to get out of the map here is find the little train stations. So there's little train stations all over the place here. These little things that say to the train station. And so if you jump into that, you'll be able to then head back to, and Gather's probably lagging. I don't know, there's a lot happening here. So Gather's definitely lagging on my screen. But if you touch this train station here, you'll end up back in a different space where you can head to the auditorium. We'll have the panel, if they can hang around, hang out into that main auditorium. Otherwise, the next round of breakouts start at what? What time is it? I can't see what time it is up there. 3:17 in 12 minutes. So we're going to go to these slides. The next breakouts start in 12 minutes. We're going to have the panel jump into the auditorium for any kind of hangout or talking afterwards. And yeah, we'll take it from there. Thank you so much to the four of you, KP, Greamer, Vreedy. This was so much fun, honestly. Yeah, this was super cool to go down and to have y'all be a part of.
Well, just want to say thanks for having me, and you know, I appreciate you and everybody else today. I'll see you all in the auditorium then in a few minutes.
Nice.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. Okay. All right. Here's the slides. Catch y'all later.